Okay. Cameras are rolling.
Okay.
So watch your mouth.
I can't see it from here. I was trying.
Always a funny guy.
I like biscuits and mustard.
No, don't touch it. I'll just give you a little bit more.
Okay.
I can see your face.
You want to scare people?
Well, keeps the rats from coming around.
That's true.
All right. Take a sip of water. Get ready.
Yes. Sip of water. Ready? There you go.
We're starting on time today, Mike.
Yes, we are. What's happening?
The show's going to go to crap after this one.
Yeah.
Here we go. Ready?
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the award-winning #1 podcast to create sound of horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's show, Talking Terminology, we're going to talk about the HCP and what it actually means. And then we're also going to talk about an article on the Chronicles of a Horse by a professional farrier, Jude Florio. Am I saying that right? And also the horse's pelvis, how the position and how it moves. All this and much more will be discussed here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. You know what?
Well.
Actually, my feelings are a little hurt, Mike.
Did I hurt your feelings?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Well, you didn't notice that I got a new haircut today.
You got a new haircut today.
Well, it's not a new haircut. It's the same haircut I always get, but it's a haircut. I got a haircut.
You did get a haircut.
Yeah, last week I was wearing a hat because I was getting all shaggy and stuff. So let me take my headphones off. And don't forget, for every podcast we have a matching video over on YouTube as well. So here we go. There we go.
You did get a new haircut. Aren't you something?
It's not bad.
No.
My wife cuts my hair, and she does a pretty good job after 14, 15 years of doing it. So what do you got going on, Mike? Anything?
Me?
You're the only mic in the room.
Oh, there's a mic, and you're talking to a mic.
Yeah.
So which mic are you talking to?
The mic that's got a Pez dispenser over there for some reason.
Yeah, just, spring's coming.
Spring's here. Spring is
Spring is here. Spring is sprung. There are horses that are heading north that I've been working on, and they're going back to their home base for the winter, and back on to other things and rolling wide open. The other thing is,
okay.
Do you know what we as humans look like to most horses?
Are you talking about like the color pattern?
No, just.
Oh, what is that?
That's a Pez dispenser.
So someone gave you
a treat. Ooh, a treat, right?
Someone gave you a Pez dispenser?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Is it the same young lady who painted that Christmas picture back there that gave you the?
No, it was not. No, it was not.
It's still back there, yeah.
Yes, we do have the Christmas picture, but no, that's. I think there's a fair amount of horses. That's how they see us as humans. Not with the rabbit ears.
No,
but
just a regular
constant treats.
Let me see what flavors
and that's for you.
Oh, look, there it is, right there.
Yeah,
comes right out. God.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll eat that during the break. I have a question for you, Mike.
Right.
You might not know the answers, but I'm hoping that our audience will know the answer. I can make
them up.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that the audience will know the answer. And don't forget, you can join the podcast at any time. Just go over to equinedynamics.com. At the very top of the page says join the podcast, and it opens up a screen. You'll see a little orange bar at the top where you can actually physically leave a message, and it comes right to our inbox, and we'll play your voice on the podcast. The question I have for the audience today is, my wife, we have 3 horses here. We have 2 horses that are on the property, Dominique and Cayenne.
And you're a Pez dispenser.
And I'm a Pez dispenser. And then we have Diego, which is now our show horse. Dominique is our retired show horse. We have a new, he's 5 years, I almost said 15, 5 years old, and he's off property, and that's the horse that my wife rides in all these shows and everything. Mm-hmm. So my wife has gotten to the point where she she's going to let Dominique, the mare, retire. I mean, fully retire. No more.
She hates that.
Training, no more training, no more lunge lining, no, even riding her, do trail rides or anything. She's just going to let her retire.
Okay.
And be a horse.
She'll be happy now.
So the question and Cayenne is just a pasture buddy. That's all Cayenne is just a pasture buddy. And my wife was saying, I need to look up the supplements, because we're getting supplements all the time, and it seems like every 3 weeks I'm going to get, a bag of something for someone.
Right.
Now, we feed both horses twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. And I forget, was it Eric Shoup? He was the nutritionist from Purina.
From Purina, yes.
That was on the show with us. And I always said, it doesn't seem you got this, 1,500-pound horse, 1,300-pound horse, and you're only giving them, a cup and a half of grains or pellets or whatever the
right. How much forage are they eating?
When you say forage, are you talking about the grass?
The grass, yes.
We've got 2 full pastures that are actually 2.5 full pastures because one's completely shaded, so not a whole lot of grass. They're eating all day long. As soon as we let them out, they're out all the time. So
the horse could be eating 40 pounds of forage through the day.
I would say yes.
Well, then she doesn't need 40 pounds of grain.
Okay. But the question that I have is my wife has is, should we be feeding a horse that is now mute as far as any training, anything going on as far as no lunge lining, no, trail rides, nothing. She is literally 2 lawn ornaments out there, both of them. She was wondering if she could cut back on the food because she's not as active as like Diego is, and Diego gets fed, like an Olympic athlete gets fed all this stuff and all the training and all that stuff. And so I was like, babe, I don't know. She's like, I'm going to look into it. So if our listeners out there have an answer to that question, we'd love to hear from you. And the way you do that is go to equinedynamics.com, join the podcast. Mike, what is your opinion on it?
Monitor the weight.
Okay.
And during like any horse coming into spring, grass coming in, need to cut back on the groceries. She doesn't need to get heavy, and that needs to be taken into consideration. And truthfully, us graining horses with pellets or whatever it may be is a supplement to their diet. So, are they getting enough off of the forage to maintain themselves okay? And is there other things going on with your horse, and are they lacking anything? And that's kind of what you need to consider. So
right before spring, just to elaborate on that a little bit, right before spring, we cut off the front pasture, seeded it, put the bug stuff out there so we wouldn't have any issues or anything, and to get it ready for springtime. Now all that lush grass has come in, and now we've opened up that pasture. That's the main flagship of the property, the front pasture there.
Yes.
The back pastures, we don't drag them at all. What grass grows out there is what grows out there, but the front pasture, we seed, we drag it, because they poop and do all that stuff. We take care of that. We mow it constantly. We trim it down to about 4 to 6 inches, and so on and so forth. And my wife said right before we opened up the front pasture that Dominique was looking a little ribby. And not ribby in the emaciated sense, but just she's not used to seeing, the rib lines a little bit on that horse. I'm like going, I don't know what to tell you, babe.
Part of the deal is if she's not in work and the muscle drops off in the back, you'll see a little bit more. And they can carry, you see this horse with this grass belly showing ribs. They're carrying a lot of belly, but, you can see the ribs because everything's falling off on the top line. So they can still be overweight. And not in a good place. So.
Yeah. So that was the question I had, and that was I need to force my wife because these little things, these messages will pop up in her head. Maybe I shouldn't feed Dominique twice a day. I should look into that, and then I'll come back 3 days later. I said, "Did you look into that?" Oh no, I forgot. That type deal. And I'm like,
Well, you could probably holler at Eric and see what he has to say.
Yeah, maybe I'll hit him up. All right, guys, we got a big show to get to, lots to talk about, and when we come back, we're going to talk terminology. What is an HCP? And when you hear that, what does it mean to you? So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. It's just pure sugar. Mm-hmm. Let me wash it down with my coffee.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be wired up. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can join the podcast, like I said, and the way you do that is go to equinedynamics.com. At the very top of the page says join the podcast. Click on that. You can see all the past episodes that we've had over the last three and a half years or so of doing this show. Listen back to them, and you can comment and leave us a message on any of the shows, any of the links out there. Just put what episode you were listening to us on or at, and your message will be played right here during the podcast. We broadcast every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in a little town we like to call Marshville. And my very own little town over my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Travis?
I'm good. I took a hit off the Pez dispenser here.
Yes, you did.
Little makeshift looking Bugs Bunny looking knockoff or whatever this is. And I forget how sugary those little things are. So now I got to watch my weight for the rest of the day. You know, I don't need too many groceries after eating that. Mike?
Yes.
Are you awake?
No, apparently not. It's having a sugar rush.
You need
eating that.
You need a sugar tablet here?
No.
All right, so talking terminology, if you're new to the show, welcome to the show. And now my mouth is salivating from all that sugar. And if you're new to the
more.
I know, I got like 5 packs here. And if you're new to the show, welcome. And what we do here during this segment is talking terminology. Any kind of terms or phrases that you might have heard in the barn from your veterinarian, your trainer, anything in general. We kind of clear up the mystique or with the actual definitions of
the mistake.
Yeah, the mistake and the mystique of the words when you hear them in the barn. And this week we're going to talk about the HCP. Now, this is not necessarily a term, but what it actually stands for. So what does HCP stand for, Mike?
Hoof Care Professionals.
And what is a hoof care professional?
Well,
and how do you get that title?
How do you get that title?
Can I be a hoof care specialist?
Sure you can.
All right.
Sure you can. No, that kind of is pretty broad. It covers, from farriers who are putting on metal to people who are not putting on shoes. All people are doing, good trims and keeping feet healthy on the barefoot horses to, somebody doing performance horses to somebody that's been through Doc Redden's advanced podiatry training to all, but it's hoof care professional who's working on the horse's feet. And
does it refer to professional? I don't mean to use that term. Does it refer to farriers only? Only farriers is an HCP, or is it anyone? Like if I'm a veterinarian and I'm working on feet, can that person be?
Well, there are veterinarians that have been through Doc Redden's advanced podiatry, and there are veterinarians who are also farriers,
like Sammy,
like Sammy, like Sammy, and it covers that. And when I was working with Dr. Mansman, his clinic was built on podiatry. He was not working on the feet. Kurt and myself were, and other people who worked in and out of the clinic were working on actually working on feet. So, but I would put him. He did a lot to help a lot of horses' feet problems, and there are vet clinics that specialize in feet. So, I mean, you could take it there, and
so are all farriers hoof care professionals, and all vets? How do I need to word this? So
it depends on what your focus is with vets. I mean, some vets do colic, some vets are focused more in certain areas. It would be a specialty deal for a vet to focus on podiatry.
So I guess where I'm saying is all farriers are hoof care professionals, but not all vets are hoof care professionals.
Right.
Okay, that's where I was kind of
I would kind of go that way in my mind, but that's where my mind goes. You know. But it used to be somebody who trims is a barefoot farrier, and farrier came from the word goes back to Ferris as in
the wheel.
Ferris wheel. Yeah, exactly. So there's been some interesting things that have come out of that. It's like people have approached me. Do you specialize in barefoot horseshoeing? And I can't wrap my head around that one, because if you're barefooting a horse, which I've done plenty of, you're probably not putting shoes on, and so I never quite grasped that one. And or do you do this kind of trim or that kind of trim? Do you do the Mustang roll? And I've tried to keep myself very versed in a lot of different angles there, and some that's where I tell people you should work on a herd of brood mares, because if you want to play games with trims, great place to see how things are going on, take care of the brood mare's feet. And, you know, I kept a herd of about 200 brood mares for about 8 or 9 years. And, you know, everybody says, well, take the bars out. Well, some of them liked it. Some of them didn't. Some of them, you know, but you got to see the changes so fast. They taught you a lot. And we just jumped way off base on that one.
So, so where would you hear that term HCP? I mean, where were the most commonplace in your dialect in the barn and stuff? Where was something like, hey, my HCP's coming over? Because Mike, I don't know anything about horses, but I've been around my wife, and she's always been around horses. I've never heard that term HCP or the word hoof care professionals. I've heard here comes my farrier, here comes my professional, but all together.
Your farrier would be a hoof care professional. Your trimmers of whatever type they do would be a hoof care professional. There are people out there that strictly deal with urethanes and polys and glues, and on their level, they would be a hoof care professional. And you know, it just depends on which way you want to take it. And there's a lot of stuff out there that when I got started was not even a thing, because it wasn't the adhesives weren't where they are now. So, and the stuff there wasn't. We weren't doing printing pieces and everything else they do now. So 3D printing or what else.
So I'm going to throw this at you. And then this is just
how hard?
Not very hard.
Good.
So
I really can't catch.
Is hoof care professional the new long-term phrase for, let's say, a farrier? And the example I'm going to give you is, you know, when we say farrier, you think of the guy who's hitting on the anvil, he's hitting on and he's forging. You don't think of someone who, in your stance, knows the biomechanics of a horse. And the example I'm going to give you is, when the United States first started, we had a Department of War.
Right.
And everyone goes, war. That's what, we're the Department of War. And then somewhere along the lines, they changed it to Department of Defense, because it was better sounding. It sounded more professional. It sounded, more, constructive. Do you think the horse care professional
there are horse care professionals also.
Right. But hoof care professional is going to be the main title of what farriers are becoming?
I think in a lot of ways, yes, because it has become more and more diverse as to how people are operating as farriers. And, there's people that specialize in sport horse work. There are people that specialize in therapeutic. There are people that specialize in keeping horses barefoot and happy. Mm-hmm. And it encompasses the whole thing. All of them should know anatomy and physiology, or should be learning it. And it's like
but it's not required. In the farrier community, it's not required.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
And
I know, I hate to say that.
Well, it's self-regulated. If somebody doesn't know and doesn't do a good job,
it'll weed themselves out.
They get weeded out.
Yeah.
And if you're going to undergo any kind of accreditations or anything like that, you have to prove knowledge and skills to said level. So I think that I like the hoof care professionals, because when people contact me about horses to discuss or look at video or pictures or whatever on, or watch movement patterns, one of my first questions, have you spoke to your, and I'm going to start using that, hoof care professional? Mm-hmm. Well, no. Well, that's the first place we need to start. And I'm not going, well, we want to see what you got to say. Well, he's working on your horse. I will talk about certain things, but certain things I will only talk about with the hoof care professional, because it gets too twisted up and misunderstood.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into this article, The Chronicles of a Horse, written by professional farrier Jude Florio. I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Sounds good to me.
And we'll discuss 3 scenarios, thrust, forging, and tripping in this article. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Doing all right?
Yes.
Okay. Sip of water.
Break out the jug.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can follow him over on Facebook, and the way you do that is search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine. And I've noticed you posted a bunch of different articles, a bunch of different drawings and stuff. And one of the things I was really impressed with was the way the German saddle horse, the saddle one that you posted on Facebook, showing how the spine reacts when you put a saddle on a horse as to just the horse being a horse.
Right.
And you can see all that. Just search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine, and it's always great furthering education.
That's probably you ought to do a lot of working horses without saddles on and allow them to be a horse and get full range of movement going.
So, yeah, you can see all that over there on Mike Stine. It's a great follow over there. It's always educational. For the most part. I mean, it is. Unless Mike goes on a trip to see Doc Redden or one of the
I will be going up there in August.
All right, well, and he posts a bunch of pictures up there anytime he goes to a clinic or anything like that. So you can check him out over on Facebook. And over to my far hand side, my very own check him out is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Are you all right? You seem
doing okay.
Yeah,
doing okay.
Doing
okay.
I was worried that you weren't going to be perky enough today.
Emma,
you're about on a scale of 1 to 10. You're floating around a 6, so that's good. Because
okay, better than not.
I'll take a 6. I'll take a 6.
Okay.
Over a 4.
Yes.
Now we're gonna dive into this article, and tell me where you found this article. What magazine is this? This is
from
the Chronicles
of the Horse.
Okay, and this is the April 25th or 2025. Right. By professional farrier Jude Florio.
Right.
And what are we talking about? Why are we bringing this article up? There he is right there on the camera. If you're watching this on the YouTube video, down in the bottom left-hand corner or right-hand corner, depending on what side of the screen you're looking at. And what are we talking about here?
Well,
what brought up this article?
Finger pointing. They're all pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Everybody's pointing fingers.
You mean the us and thems?
Us and thems and all. Anyway, when we're working on horses trying to get things together, it is a team approach. And I like this article because of, there's some situations I have dealt with where I'm dealing directly with the professionals. There are situations where information comes through channels and it gets changed like the game of telephone. And you can't get any clear answers. And, unless they're willing to deal direct with me, I can't guess what they're thinking sometimes. But, they're talking about, in some here, he's talking about hoof problems showing up, and automatically it's the farrier, right? But in reality, we're talking about saddles. If you have a saddle problem, that can in turn in movement patterns cause hoof problems. And, if you got a horse that's locking up on the front end, you can end up with some compression problems you're fighting. In turn, rider issues. A rider is unbalanced. I've had where a rider has gotten injured, and all of a sudden we started having some gait problems because the horse, the rider was injured, had somebody that had a knee injury, and they started riding with a great big leg brace, and they're like, my horse isn't moving right, and all of a sudden it's like, what are you doing to my horse? And it's like, you've been riding with that great big hinged brace on? Well, yes, have to, and that's not gouging in the horse's side.
You ever seen the? It was big in the 80s. It was called the Executive Toy, and it's 5 balls, like marble balls, and you take one and you lift it up and you let it go and it pops the other 4, and then the one on the end goes back and forth
right.
and back and forth. It's basically when you're talking about, the saddle's making the hoofs bad and then the hoofs making the saddle bad, you're basically, that ball is bouncing back and forth. And
that's exactly what's going on.
You're transferring that energy back and forth, and one's blaming the other one, the other one's blaming the other
right.
one.
I got a horse I'm dealing with right now that has a lot of compression problems in the left front, and in the right hip there's been more brought to light about the horse having problems in that right hip. And I've been told it's getting better, but when I'm handling the horse doesn't want to flex on that right hind at all. Last time I was there, and you take the horse down the aisleway, and it's hitting the ground hard on that left front, and they're like, no, we've got the hip fixed. And I'm like, doesn't sound that way going down the aisleway of the hall of the barn, because it is a concrete aisleway in the barn, so it brings all that out And
It's like an odd clip clop that you're hearing.
you hear that heavy hit. And if that right hind is getting better, why are we hitting harder on that left front? We are getting more compression problems in that right front. We've been dealing with that for a while. So, is it all what I'm doing, or is it an after effect of some other things that are going on in the horse? And the horse has had lower back problems and SI problems and all this sort of deal. So I'm saying I'm fighting some mechanics. And some of the instructions that were left to me on this horse were indirect. And some of it's like, I said, well, you got to do this, this, and this. And then when I went from the person relaying the message to the next person in line, the message was totally different. And I told them, well, you need to have your vet and or chiropractor or both contact me direct, because what's coming around to me doesn't make that much sense.
Now, in the article discusses how a majority of HCPs do the best job they can, but often get blamed for things that go bad on the hoof and lameness. 3 scenarios that this article discusses is thrush, forging, and tripping.
Right. Forging as a movement fault. If you have balance problems with feet, can it cause forging? Yes. If we're not getting ahead of that. If the feet are out of balance that are causing forging, can it cause saddle fit problems? Yes. Will that cause the rider problems with positioning? Yes. But in reverse, if you've got a saddle that's trapping the shoulders and he can't get his front end out of the way like he should because the shoulders are trapped, that on its own can cause forging, cause compression in the front feet. So the whole chicken or egg deal. Remember that story?
Yep.
Yep. We don't know yet, do we?
We don't. Actually, I saw a video on TikTok or something that actually showed the evolution of a chicken, and it came from like alligators. And I was like, all right, we'll go with that.
Alligators like chicken.
Well, I mean,
I bet you if you threw an alligator a chicken, I bet they think chicken's really good.
They both lay eggs, and they were talking about how it's the whole reptiles turned into dinosaurs, which turned into birds because dinosaurs, it's a long thing. It was a process, but it was a cool video to watch.
So which did come first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken did, believe it or not.
Okay.
All right. So when we come back, if you're not on YouTube right now, now's your chance to jump on over there, search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine. Make sure you give him a subscribe over there, and you get a new video every Monday morning, actually Monday afternoon. And Mike has he's got some bones here. I
got a bone to pick with you.
From his dinner last night, it looks like.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the horse's pelvis, and he's got a little display here, so now's a great chance. A lot of visuals on the show, so now's your chance to go over to YouTube right now and check it out. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. Thought I was going to burp.
Thank God you did.
I'm saving that for on air.
Yeah. That's always fun to edit out. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Here we go. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. If you have a question for Mike Stine, the way you can get those questions in, if you don't want to go on the air, that's okay. A lot of people are shy about getting their voice heard on the air. You can go over to equinedynamics.com at the very top of the page. Hey, what are you touching?
I was just looking. Okay, that's this camera. Excuse me. We hadn't turned that camera on. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're jumping the gun.
I'm not allowed to do technical stuff.
Right.
And I mess stuff up when I even think about it, right?
So as I was saying, you can go to equinedynamics.com at the very top of the page. It says contact us. Fill out that little form. Make sure you put a physical return address. Ask your question in there, and you can ask us from any episode over the last 12 seasons. You can ask us a question, and we'll read it on the air. Make sure you put a physical return address, and we'll send you out some magnets, some stickers, some keychains and buttons and whatnot. So get those in. Go to equinedynamics.com. And over to my far hand side, messing up all the camera angles and stuff, is Mike Stine. How are you?
Yes, I am.
So, Mike, I know you don't know the routine all the way, but
I never know the routine.
The camera angles,
keep changing it.
The camera angles that we're on right now, is for discussion. Okay.
Discussion.
This is me and you discussing.
Disgusting stuff.
Right. And then when you bring in stuff like this big hip bone that you brought in, guess what happens? I set the cameras and I switch over to camera here, and look at that. You can see everything, Mike.
Isn't that what you were trying to do a minute ago?
Yes, that's what I was doing a minute ago, trying to get everything all straight. That's why I said, how are you going to hold this thing up and talk about it? So if you're watching this on the YouTube video, you can see Mike trying to fix my camera angles and not doing
messing you up.
Yeah, not messing me up. And so this is another part of Dolly.
This is Dolly's pelvis.
Okay.
And she is helping us graciously to help explain a few things.
Is that the top of the pelvis?
This would be the top.
And is that the back or the front?
This would be the back. Now, if we turn around this way, this would be the back.
Okay.
This is the back end. This is the front end.
Okay.
When you are behind a horse, you see the points of the pelvis sticking out here and out here. That would be here and here. And then at the top in the middle of the back, over the spine, if you see those little bumps that pop up as the pelvis rotates further forward or further back, that would be these.
Okay.
And if you look at the positioning between these points and these points, if you look at a horse and see how that's lined up, you can kind of if you draw a line from here to here and figure out where this lines up with it.
There you go. There's a better
angle. You
angle.
can start telling what kind of angle your horse's pelvis is at from the alignment. So you want a pelvis to come more here. If a horse is coming here, it's impinging in the SI. And the pelvis can also rotate this way, rotate this way. Think about a horse galloping or a horse trotting. Some movement there. It probably doesn't move that much, and if this horse starts bucking. But now the spine comes in through here, the tail comes out through this channel, and it's attached by ligaments. And when you got a horse that's binding in the SI, and the reason got this discussion became so the spine's through here, and you're tilted back, and you start to get call this the SI joint. You start to bind here. And I had a discussion that the horse was not only back, but then the horses at this point was pushing in on both sides. And I'm like, I couldn't wrap my hand around that because the pelvis can cock this way, the pelvis can cock this way, right?
Okay.
But it can't, for both those press in, so this one on the right side presses in, or this one on the left side presses in.
So it's one or the other.
Also rotate this way or this way. But as far as the pelvis is not built to flex towards the middle, and I was getting the explanation that this is from the chiropractor that at this point, both sides, it was going this way, and then both sides are flexing in and making it impinge more. And I was like, does your horse have a deformed pelvis? No, it's perfectly formed. Well, how is it doing that? Well, both sides of the pelvis are flexing. And this is on a matured horse. So it's not cartilage flexing at that point, and it's on a matured horse. So my question is, yes, the horse is impinged in the SI. We know that. That's been pointed out before. I've checked out with my hands. It's much worse on one side. But, if a horse drops a hip, a lot of times you look at the tail swing, part of the reason you can tell the horse drops the hip is that it'll drop and rotate. And you see if the tail's swinging out of center, if it rotates. And but if it rotates, one side pushes forward, one side rolls back. Usually when it pulls forward, that side drops. But in that's where you pick up on, like looking at a horse's tail, you can say it's wanting to kick to one side. Most likely what that means, and that's like this whole thing with the split of the mane or any of those old horseman rules, is a place to start looking. It's nothing's definite until you see it, because I have seen horses that had a split in the mane. When you went to that part of the body actually went the other way. But it's a place to start thinking. But my understanding was, anytime I get hit with these things, okay, it's time to go research and see what feasibility of this is. Am I missing something? And go down my chain of contacts. Hey, am I being stupid, or is this what I'm really thinking?
Have you talked to that chiropractor since?
No, haven't spoke to him yet.
Okay, and
have not spoke to the vet yet. And I said, we need to be in contact direct, and we can have this discussion.
So would you bring that for Dolly's hip for demonstration? Say, okay, show me what you're talking about. Maybe you're not. Well, maybe the person wasn't verbally communicating right what they were saying. Or it's pinching or not flexing, and maybe they use the term flex, not in the sense that you would think, but maybe in the sense that the ligaments might be. I'm not defending the person.
No, I think there's some misunderstanding in communication, but and I would like to get back to the root of where it came from,
because it was telephone.
If it wasn't even, it was a game of telephone with no telephones involved, because by the time it got to me going down the line, apparently it went chiropractor, trainer, owner,
mailman,
and also about fifth in line on a few of these things. It seems to be that has happened on a few things. I'm like, well, back up a minute. And they're like, they insisted, no, this is what's going on. And I'm like, okay, but then you start going to this one, and this one. When I got back to the trainer, I said, that's not what I heard at all. And I'm like, but then I'm getting hit here. You've got to do something about this. And it's like, I can't figure that one out. And, I go down my checklist, because I've got people that are telling me that, like my buddy Billy, and a few other people that I will bounce things off of. Am I missing something? And Billy will tell me right quick if I'm being an idiot. he's a true friend. You're being hey, dipshit, wake up, right?
Right.
And but no, I know people that are very knowledgeable and not all of them are farriers. I've got chiropractors I talk to and dentists and everything else that I say, hey, I've got a question. And sometimes it's best to go directly to the source, which goes back to that whole thing about movement of the jaw the other week. I was told about the jaw moving back and forth, and then talking to a vet that did a lot of teeth, said the jaw doesn't really do that. But you do have to have good, clean movement of the jaw so the head can move correctly, because that can throw the pelvis positioning out.
So Mike literally got to the heart of the matter, brought out Dolly. He said, hey, this doesn't sound right. My expertise, my professional hoof care professional that I am, and he has a horse, a dolly, a skeleton at his house that he uses, and he uses it for models and everything, and just trying to figure things out. And so what the chiropractor says, that the hip bone was flexing, like almost like a butterfly wing would flex,
right,
flying, flapping up and down.
And this is an indirect message,
right, third party.
But the other end is yes, I've been a farrier for a long time, but remember my friend Ray Morris, the blind guy who I did a lot of massage work with, and Chris King before that, and Caldwell doing body work before that. And, Ray had me helping him teach at one point before we lost him. But I've had my hands in a lot of horses, so I do reach up and I do touch horses to feel what's going on. And I've been doing that. And I've learned things, and I've forgotten things, and I've relearned things. And, talking to my buddy Jim down in Alabama, Jim pointed out a few things that I need to take notice to, that I was like, I remember that from Ray, but I haven't paid as much attention lately. I need to sharpen up again. And you always need to be doing homework constantly.
Have you followed up with any of your friends about the jaw effect from last week?
Well, I did sit down with one of my vets that I work with, and was talking about that. They said the jaw doesn't have a lot of movement this way.
Okay.
And that's what they were saying. I've got a vet that I need to contact him just to see his take on it, who is a veterinarian that specializes, as in Dr. Mansman, Doc Redden specialize in podiatry, and some other vets like Sammy, stuff and all down the line. Fred is strictly dentistry. Mm-hmm. And I need to call Fred, see what his scoop is.
Get Fred on the show.
I might get Fred on the show.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick little break, and one more little segment. We'll let you get back to playing with your ponies. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. You okay?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Zombie, but okay.
Come back. What did we learn? Wrap it up. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Did we learn something?
Yes, we learned a lot. Ready?
Yes.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. I almost said the other thing. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can join the podcast at any time. You can ask us a question. Your voice can be heard right here on the air with us. We broadcast every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in a beautiful little town we like to call Marshville. You don't have to call exactly when we're recording the show, but if you get your message in, it's 3 little steps. You hit record, you listen back, and then you hit send. You can also be anonymous, too. You can just put whatever name, Horse Lover 42, and it'll come right to our inbox. And we'll play your voice on the podcast and have Mike answer your question. And you can ask us from any of the podcasts that we've been doing, any of the episodes for the last 12 seasons or so. Please go back and listen to them all. They're all very educational, all the guests and everyone that's been on the show. Lots of information out there. So take your time, go through it, and ask us a question. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. So what did we learn today, Mike?
What did we learn today?
Very good.
Did we learn something today?
We did learn something today.
Wow.
Today, what did we learn? We learned about talking terminology. What is an HCP? And what does it mean? What does it stand for? And who is an HCP?
It's a hoof care specialist.
Nope, that's HPS or HCP. I can't remember. It's a hoof care professional.
A hoof care professional. Excuse me.
Yes.
Jumped the gun on that one, didn't I?
And who qualifies to be called or wear that title?
Hoof care professionals wear that title.
And how do you become that, or what are we talking about? Who falls under that umbrella?
People who understand anatomy and physiology of the horse's hoof, and that goes all the way up the leg.
And it's not just farriers.
It's not just farriers. There are veterinarians that specialize in equine podiatry and hoof care. And so we could all be in there. There are people who work a lot of steel like I do. There are people who use, some of these polished shoes and some of these other materials that glue. And there are people out there that take care of do a wonderful job of taking care of the barefoot horses and keep them happy. The ones that can fall in that and live good lives that way.
And also the article from the Chronicles of a Horse, the March-April 2025 edition, written by professional farrier Jude Florio. Mm-hmm. It's kind of all right, I'll go with that. And it discusses who's pointing the fingers at who? Is it the people up top pointing down at the farriers, or is the farriers on the bottom pointing to the people that work on the top?
It is a point everybody pointing at everybody, but I'm trying to, and it's not easy, especially when your head's thick as mine is, right?
Right.
I don't need an anvil. That kind of thing starts. It's time to back up and take a look at ourselves and point a finger to ourselves for a while.
Well, what they say. You know what they say, when you point one at you, you got 4 or 3 pointing back at me.
Right.
That. Anyways.
And am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I understanding this right? If not, let's phone a friend and see if they'll tell me I'm being an idiot, and then go do a little research and make sure I'm not missing something. So if their fingers pointed, I need to do that, and I try to. I'm not going to say I always do. I try to. Am I on top of my game where I should be?
And also, you brought in Dolly's pelvis, and I'm going to switch over to camera 9 here.
Yes, I did.
And you were talking about the horse's pelvis and how the position and how it moves, and the conversation that you had or heard from someone.
Rotated under.
Hold on, let me finish, Mike. How you heard about a conversation of how the pelvis flexes, and you brought this in to prove that it doesn't actually flex.
Yeah, I think there was some misunderstanding because it went through too many different channels. And in that situation, I was like, they need to speak directly with me. And we have not made contact yet. I am open to it. Pick up the phone, give me a call. Right?
Right. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the show and you like this podcast to perform at your clinic, your location, your bar mitzvah, garage sale, anything you got going on, when you got a group of people that are all interested in the equine community, we can do this podcast out at your location. Springtime's coming up. We got some live events that we're going to do here shortly. We'll let you know what dates we'll be out and about. You can come out there and meet us and shake our hands, and maybe Mike will bring Dolly out there, and you can
throw rocks at Travis.
Throw the rocks at me, and that's fine. I got a big rock head, so they'll bounce right off. So you do that as well. Go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says clinics. Fill out that little form. We'll pencil you in and get you on our schedule for this upcoming spring. So on behalf of Mike Stine over there,
have a good day. Enjoy your ponies.
My name is Travis, saying see you next week.
Lucky.
Good night, Ned.
Night, Dusty.
There you go.
Good night, Ned.
Good night, Ned.